Let's go.
Okay.
Hey V-Riders, thanks for joining us today. We're with Sean Logan, the intrepid adventurer, who has released his book. Can you say it for me, please?
From Blaen Y Maes to Banjul. It's a place in Wales where I grew up.
And so we've got a few questions to put to him, and he's going to tell us about his trip. So what do I start with first then, Sean?
Just fire away.
So let's start with a few questions.
Okay.
One I took into my Bakewell Blondish from DeeDees
Cafe.
Cafe.
Bought lunch, by the way, so he's well fed.
Yeah, I've been looked after.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sean, firstly, tell us about yourself, Logan, and the bike you took on the trip.
Okay, so yeah, I'm Sean Logan. I've been a biker all my life, and
Just to clarify, Logan is
my partner at the time.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So yeah, I've been biker all my life, and the reason the trip came about was it was one of them conversations you often have. Oh, what would I want to do if I could do anything? And one of them was to go travelling on my motorbike. Keep it as simple as that. So from that kind of conversation, we devised a very, very loose plan of riding our bikes pretty much south. So I was on a Suzuki DR350, and Logan, my partner at the time, was on a DRZ 400. And as the book unfolds, you'll see that sometimes choices of bikes can be troublesome.
Yeah.
There's a chapter in the book that describes one particular incident, and there may be a second part to the book where I describe how it got even worse.
There will be a second part if you want to read it.
It got even worse, but it ended up really fortuitous and amazed me at the ingenuity of the African mechanics I was working with.
Yes, it's quite something when you see the kind of things they do to your bike.
Yeah, amazing.
They can fix anything, can't they?
They really can.
Yeah.
It puts us to shame, I think.
Yeah.
We're such a disposable, such a disposable mindset.
Yes.
We just throw things away, but they throw nothing away, and everything's reused. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's recycling in action.
It's it's probably that.
Yeah.
I know, we're all guilty of it. I'm guilty
absolutely.
of it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
It's
Give me some food for thought, all right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, so how long have you been riding then, Sean?
Since I was about 12. Started off with just my mates on a beaten up, I think it was like a Fantic 50, and I was so bad at riding I couldn't even work the clutch, so I used to run along the bike and then jump onto it and dump the clutch. From then I thought, oh, the freedom and enjoyment I get from this, I would love to get a bike when I'm older. So yeah, I got a bike when I was 17. It was a Honda CB125 Super Dream. Oh yeah.
I still have nightmares of the 250 Super Dream I own.
Yeah, I had a few
story.
of them as well. And, yeah, they're the slowest slug, but there you go. They're very reliable at least.
So you've been riding all that time? Any breaks or just?
No, completely all the way through. I've had everything from two strokes.
How old are you now?
Apparently I'm 53.
Whoa.
So yeah, I passed my test literally by riding round in a square.
Yeah.
And the guy, I'm sure, he just had a clipboard, and I'm sure he's doing his shopping and just kept popping his head out and just said, keep turning left. Apparently I passed my test. And I was so happy at the end of it. I was thinking I could actually go and ride a Harley now. I was thinking, well, I can't afford it, but I could.
But you could.
But I could.
So how long have you been vegan for?
About 3-4 years now. I was veggie just about a year before.
Yep.
Interestingly enough, I was talking to you earlier about my travels, and I think it really made me think about, made me more conscious of what I put in and how things get to where they are.
Yep.
And I just became more and more aware, and I became vegan purely through selfish health reasons. I had very bad arthritis to the point where I had trouble with my feet, my knees, my joints, and I literally went vegan, and it disappeared overnight.
Yeah.
And since then I've been doing like triathlons, and I'm mad into my fitness and stuff. So it's really been
Unlike me.
the best thing I've ever done. And I know it's a cliche, but you know, you can never do it soon enough.
Yeah.
So glad and happy I've done it. I never felt fitter or better.
Yep. So what was the inspiration for you to go vegan? Was it more your health?
It was more health, but I was toying with the idea, and the more research I was doing, the more I was realising actually there might be something in this. So I thought, with the mindset, just give it a go.
Yeah.
And it was the best thing I've done.
Oh yeah. What's the worst that can happen?
Exactly. That.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously, you've been riding. So you were riding since 12. What inspired you to start riding?
Fun. It was purely fun. I think I always associated motorcycles with fun, and I think looking back, it was a time you cannot be totally engaged. Totally unengaged when on a bike. When you're on a bike, that is it. So if ever there was like a mindfulness activity, then that's it for me. And it was something I kept on going back to. You know, every time I ride a bike, I never get off it feeling worse.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm cold. Yes, I'm tired and everything, but that's reality. And I think what bikes do for me, they put me in a state of reality.
Yeah.
You have to deal with what's in front of you right there and then.
Yeah. Yeah, because obviously a lot of people, they start riding because a family member's got a bike and they go on about them.
Yeah.
So
my dad
just interesting
had
to find
bikes,
out.
but never in my when I was growing up.
So let's get on to the book then. How long did it take you to write the book?
Well,
was it written on the road or was it written afterwards?
There were little bits that were kind of snippets from Logan would take little notes at night, because we'd have in the book it describes how we kind of debrief at night. What was the best bit? What was the worst bit? What was a Pollyanna moment? As in, what are you grateful for? So there were little bits of that, but basically it took me from top to tail about 4 years to write, which sounds a lot, because I started it and then I thought, okay, where am I going with this? And then I just decided, okay, I'm going to do a little bit a day. It just felt a little bit overwhelming, I don't know why. But then I just thought, no, I'll apply what I've learned and just do literally 30 minutes a day. And by doing that, by small chunks, it got finished. And I had a deadline as well. I thought, right, by December 2022, I want to finish it.
And you did.
And I did, so yeah.
There'll be a link to the... you can download it from Amazon, can't you?
Yeah.
So I'll put all the links in the description. What is your most memorable moment in each country on the trip?
I think France was...
How many countries were there in total?
Oh, crikey. I suppose, give or take, maybe 10 to 12, something like that. I didn't really count.
Yeah.
I'm not...
I was actually going to, but then I forgot to do it.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. I'm not really analytical like that, but I suppose memorable moments would be like France, where you just stopped somewhere and I just saw this cat in a windowsill, and it was the most picturesque thing, and we're just eating a quick snack. And I just thought, wow, that's so French. Do you know what I mean? Spain, well, there's something in the book called the Zaragoza incident or experience. It tells of mechanical mishaps, and that marred some of the trip. Purely because you become so engrossed into your bike failing.
Yeah.
Gibraltar, that was interesting. My passport nearly got thrown off a cliff by a monkey. I left my bag down for a second, the monkeys were in it, and they were going through my jacket, and they were literally had everything in their hands. Fortunately, it got rescued. Andorra, that was interesting because it was like a mishmash of everything. It was kind of beige as well.
Yeah, I've been to Andorra a couple of times, and I mean, it's there's nice roads to get there.
Yeah.
I've not been on a bike. It's nice roads to get there, but yeah, it's not
like-
much there. Really.
Yeah.
It's a tax haven, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was quite unremarkable, I suppose.
Yeah.
Then Morocco, I suppose, Casablanca for me was amazing because it's so nicely underdeveloped compared to Marrakesh.
Yeah.
So you can go there and still feel the hustle and bustle of the market.
Yeah.
Plus all the mountains as well when we went back on ourselves. Mauritania, it was just the openness of the expanse of you knowing that
one drink to make.
there is nothing around and there's nothing you can do about it. And that kind of being off grid was the best experience.
See, that sort of stuff excites me and scares me at the same time.
Yeah,
so,
and that's the whole reason behind it. I mean, my favourite memory was literally we'd skirted off, and we were we camped next to these camel bones, and we had a sandstorm that night, and everything was covered, and it was everything I wanted in an adventure. So that was really good. Senegal for me was like Dakar. It's known as the city that never sleeps, and they were absolutely right. We got invited to so many local things, one of them being a wrestling match.
Yeah.
And we were like almost treated like royalty.
It didn't involve you, just to.
No, they would have. They would have certainly done that. And then just an offshoot of that would be the time that we met this guy in Dakar, and he invited us back to his auberge, and it turned out to be a brothel. So that was interesting in itself. And of course in Banjul, in Gambia, that's where the most memorable thing there was just it's a very poor country, so it really makes you appreciate every single morsel you can eat, whatever that is. And the people were just so lovely. So I think the thing I take away from Gambia is, you know, those with so little have so much more to give.
Yeah.
And then we obviously return, but that might be for
That's
another
part 2, yeah.
It could be part 2.
And what tips can you give to any budding adventurers?
Okay, the first tip is get off the fence and make a date.
Yeah.
Put a date on it. What I found was once you'd set a date, everything kind of converged into it.
Yeah.
So we set a date of, say, March 2011.
Yeah.
And everything just seems to happen. If you don't tend to nail it, it just becomes this washing machine daydream, and life gets in the way. My top tip is there's never a perfect time. So either do it while you can, or don't do it.
Or don't do it, yeah.
And expect things to go wrong, but that's when the adventure starts.
Yeah. If they don't go wrong, it's not an adventure.
It's not an adventure. Yeah, so
Simple
the
as
top
that.
tip would be just to put a date on it and make that decision.
So obviously you weren't vegan at the time of the trip.
No.
How do you think you would have coped if you were?
You could have coped, but wow, it would have been limited, really limited.
Because I mean, I really want to go to Morocco. That's,
I mean,
absolutely.
Morocco would probably be the easiest country to do it.
That's the sense I'm getting. Yeah.
But for other places, especially, let's say, I mean,
I love couscous though.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
You would.
I mean, I grew up in the south of France, which is obviously heavy, like Algerian and Moroccan influence down there. So
that'd be the easy bit. I mean, weirdly enough, like you go to places like Gambia, let's say, and because it's such a poor country, meat is quite a luxury. So you could do it, but you know yourself that the ingredients are cooked with everything else. So it's going to be. I think you have to weigh it up and go, okay, I'll have to not bite the bullet at times, but you understand that it's going to be cooked together.
Basically, do the best you can.
Yeah. Or buy from a market store, and then you can do what you like.
I mean, if you make your own Maybe, you know, it'd probably be much easier, wouldn't it? It's just...
Yeah, and it would be easier and sometimes cheaper.
Did the treatment of animals in some countries leave an impression on you, good or bad?
Yeah, bad. Morocco was an eye opener.
Yeah,
I didn't expect it. We were going along like quite a nice kind of area, be it built up or whatnot, and they had like donkeys' heads hanging out with with the tongues hanging out, and it's like, my God. And I remember, you know, what you order is basically what they've got. So they'll just chop any old meat up or anything, and it made you realise the fragility of life as well.
Yes. Yeah.
And how there's no kind of, how can I say, ethical thought. It's just, well, it's from farm to plate. And that's it. And there's no kind of I don't know if the right word is compassion or conscience, but it really is. It's about survival.
I mean, obviously you were meat eater back then. Did it affect you at the time?
I think it did. I saw.
Do you think it might have been a catalyst for you eventually becoming a vegan?
It certainly made me more conscious and aware.
Yeah.
I mean, interesting enough, on another time, I mean, I've been a butcher before.
Yeah.
From when I was a youngster.
Oh, when I was a youngster, I worked in a deli, so...
So, you know, I can break down carcasses and all that, and but I think what the thing I saw was from the animals being alive to them being killed, that's what I was seeing more of on the trip.
It hits home, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that scares me about going to Morocco in particular. We'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it.
Yeah, exactly. That I think the thing is that it's not going to be perfect, so don't expect it to be. But there's, if you want to make it to work, you'll work it.
Yeah. Obviously, the next question, sort of similar, but I mean, how do you look back at the adventure with your vegan specs on?
I think it would be quite even more of an adventure now to go, because not only are you having the ride and everything else, but your vegan radar is on, and you think, oh, what can I eat, and what's exciting that I haven't tried, and just seeing the differences, you know, on what they would prepare as a vegan dish and stuff like that. So to be honest, I think it'd be quite exciting. And thinking, oh, how can I think what it would give me is more of a problem-solving kind of attitude of, oh, how can I make this work? Rather than, this is going to curtail. No. Now my attitude is, how can I make this work for us, or me, or whatever it is?
Yeah, because that brings us on to the next question. I mean, would you have attempted it if you were vegan back then, when no one had really heard of veganism?
Yeah.
And would you do it now, as veganism is more well known?
Yes and yes, I would absolutely do it, because the thing is, you're taking you on your journey, so I think everybody sees the world through their own lens, obviously.
The thing is, if we want to change the world as well, you've got to travel, and you've got to show people, you know...
There's a different way sometimes.
There's a different way out, you know, and just show people that vegans are out there. You know,
yeah, absolutely. And also, I kind of think of it like a vegan passport, right?
Yeah.
It's a great way to strike up conversations.
Yes.
Because, you know, if you're meeting new people all the time, and they seem curious about you, and go, oh, so what's that about? And then you can have a conversation. And
you
even
might
though
stir on something
you might do, and even if you totally disagree, the essence of it is that connection. Isn't that why we travel, you know, to connect with different cultures and everything else? If we want it just our way, then that's really not, that's dictatorial. I mean, and that's what we're trying to avoid. I would hope, anyway.
Now this could be a controversial one. Which is your favourite country of all that you've visited on that trip?
I think Senegal,
Yeah.
because you can get a bit of everything, and it's so vast.
I mean, I speak French, so I'd probably get on all right. Yeah, like Morocco and places like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think everyone should visit Dakar once in their life, just to see the craziness of it. And then if you wanted the desert, literally you go an hour out and you're in the desert. Do you know what I mean? If you wanted to visit cultural, religious things, you can do that also.
Yeah.
You can get whatever you kind of need in Dakar. It's a major port, and it's a great stopping place just to sit and stare sometimes.
Yeah. People watch. Yeah. Just, I mean, that's what I like to do when I'm on tour. Just, you know, take a break, sit in a cafe, just watch the world go by, watch people.
And be present, and that's one of the big things. Like, what I found was I stopped rushing to be somewhere. I think for me it took about 6 weeks to let go of that Western anxiety of, we need to be X there, and then after 6 weeks, when it stopped becoming a holiday, I'm thinking, this is the real deal. It just dissipated, and I thought, I'm actually enjoying whatever is right now.
Yeah, just be here, in the here and now.
Yeah.
And so which country had the most breathtaking scenery, in your opinion?
Oh, that's a good question. I think
I bet there's quite a few, actually.
Had to be Morocco, because I mean, we've done all of the mountains, the Atlas and the Rift and everything else. And
I love the French and Spanish Pyrenees. It's just
we've done that
beautiful.
too. Yeah, we got snowed in on that one.
Yeah.
I just think there's something about you feeling small on a landscape. It really reminds you of how little of how insignificant
we
you
are.
really
Literally just a dot. So in the whole universe, aren't we? We are just a grain.
And I think we got our big egos to go, we could change this, we could do that. But realistically, when you're next to a big mountain, you're
nothing.
It's very grounding. So I think, Spain and Morocco, they kind of, I think again, like Morocco, you just get you can get a bit of everything.
Yeah. I will make it one day. One thing that sticks in my mind, right from reading the book, is that we're spoilt Westerners, aren't we? And we always want more and more. And you allude to that in the book, don't you?
Yeah.
But, and it does seem true that those with the least amount of wealth, they've got the biggest hearts.
Yeah.
And they're the ones who also seem to value life, like their friends and their family, and what they actually own a lot more. Yeah. Would you agree with that? Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think you kind of allude to that in there. And it's in a way it's sad, not from their perspective, just from our perspective. You just always aspiring to that next iPhone, next technological gadget, and we're all guilty of it, aren't we? But the people who've got nothing usually are the happiest, aren't they?
Our desire for more leads to our disappointment, and I think that's what I got from it. And coming back, like I've skinnied down everything I kind of own more and more. It's a practice, it's a skill, don't get me wrong, but it just frees up everything else. You find that thing starts to own you. If you have too many things, then they start to own you and responsibilities.
I agree.
We found that the people with less seem to be happiest, and there was a message in that. And I went with all of these gadgets and everything else, and as the trip was going on, they just got flung and posted back. It's just there's no need. There's absolutely zero need.
All you need really is your bike,
food, fuel, water. That's it.
And a tent.
At times.
But even then, you don't.
Sometimes,
I suppose if you've got enough money, you could do without it, but it would soon be expensive to get a hotel every night, wouldn't it?
For me, it was particularly important to kind of, one, wild camp, because I really enjoy camping anyway, and two, it's cost. Because you can imagine the biggest cost on the trip was fuel, because we're fueling 2 bikes. And you forget that. and also at campsites they charge per bike, which is ridiculous. So I'll give you an instance. For one particular place, it was cheaper to camp in an RV than it was to have 2 bikes in a tent. It was ridiculous.
How does that work then? If you're only using one tent.
I agree, totally agree. And that was
so they've got to make their money somehow, haven't they?
I suppose. And we would only stop at a campsite every couple of days if we needed
I'm
just
guessing
to
it
clean.
wasn't that expensive anyway, wasn't it? The camping?
No, but it does eat in.
It does,
I mean, we had a
up,
budget of 30 quid a day.
Yeah.
That included fuel, and everything else.
Yeah.
So,
it will get tight on Sundays, I bet. On Sundays,
absolutely. But it really made you value money.
Yeah.
And everything you bought, thought, okay, is this what we need or what we want?
We're so guilty, aren't we? Just get card, tap, don't we?
Yeah.
But, when you're living day to day like that,
it's very
different proposition, isn't it? How did you cope with the heat in Africa and the change of temperature at night in some countries? Did you adjust, or was it just a case of dealing with it?
It was very tough. Once we hit Morocco, it was in the 40s, and I think I adjusted easier.
What month were you in Morocco?
That was May. It was strange. It wasn't even considered the high season, but for some reason they had this heat wave, and I adapted to it okay, but sleeping at night is always a problem, and you have to adjust the day, because you know when you're tired and you know that you need to stop. I think the biggest thing was in the heat, it was the water. I mean, we were going through 10 litres a day sometimes.
I drink a lot of water anyway, so
that was a big thing, the amount of water, and with the cold as well. It was
because I'm guessing it got quite cold at night, didn't it?
It did in places, especially around the Pyrenees. But again, do you know what? You look back with fondness.
In the desert, it gets cold at night, doesn't it?
It can do, but mainly for us, it was the heat in the day that was the most difficult bit. So we would kind of travel as early as we could in the day, have that respite in the hottest bit, and then find the campsite later on in the afternoon. Didn't always work like that, because we might have needed to be at a port or a border at some point before they shut, which meant riding through the hottest part, and you literally felt you were in a hairdryer being baked. And you feel, I'm not doing anything, so how can I be sweating? But remember, all of that moisture is coming off.
It is, it's
unreal.
Did you have a vented kit?
Not really.
No,
I don't even know if it was a thing then.
No, it probably wasn't, but even then they say they can clog up with moisture, can't they, as well? So, and that could be a problem in itself. So there's no easy way, isn't there?
There isn't, and there's the thing. I cut the linings out of my bike trousers and everything else because it was just getting unbelievable.
So you talk a lot about living in the present, reliving the memories in the book, and how do you balance that out? So how do you balance out living in the present with reliving your memories of that trip?
Okay, so I suppose I look at it like using what happened then to put it into my daily practice, my daily life. So I kind of look for what's good about what's in this moment right now, and even though it might be even a bad thing, they're thinking, okay, what can I value about this, what can I learn about this, and then honestly, if I do feel I'm having, let's say, considered trouble, I think, well, how would I have dealt with it back then? And it brings me into that mindset of like, okay, how can I solve this problem? Rather than letting it envelop me and become emotional.
That's one thing I'm guilty of, and so it's a good mindset to try and get into. I do tend to have a meltdown, so
and I think one of the things that works, especially through motorcycle travel is you have to live inside your head, especially with a helmet on the bike. And I think one of the things it made me better at was being comfortable with being uncomfortable. On the trip I wrote I was going on the Western Sahara, and I'd have all sorts of emotions come through, my childhood and everything else, and I'd find myself in tears sometimes. But it was quite cathartic, and I think it's where I needed to go. And I think going through that, I think, well, if I can do that and be okay and sit with myself, then I'm okay with myself now. And I think one of the things that I kind of learnt is kind of dropping my ego, my perceived identity and all that shit. So now I'm quite happy with all my flaws and all the rest of it. And whereas before I was quite anxious about how will I be perceived, and now I couldn't give a shit. As well, I'll do the best I can with what I got.
We did discuss this earlier, but I'm pretty much the same. I used to care what people think about me, especially when doing stuff online like this and that, but I don't care now. It's what it is.
And as we talked earlier on, it's like it's not waiting for everything to be perfect. It's about 70%. Yeah, throw it out there. Have a go for God's sake. And I think that's what I've learned is like just do the best you can with what you got.
Drop your ego.
Drop your ego and just be okay with being vulnerable, because I think if anything it demonstrates strength rather than a weakness.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think people pick up on, if they're okay to be vulnerable, then maybe I should have a look at myself.
Very interesting. Can you tell us a little about your time living and working in Banjul?
Yeah, certainly. So we rocked up in Banjul. We'd run out of money. It was absolutely. We were literally down to our last penny. So we threw our CVs in everywhere, and immediately kind of picked up by a medical university to teach English to fourth year students and medical terminology, and I worked with them, and as my bike needed repairs, which might be on the second part of the book, I went to a garage run by Germans who were looking for someone to teach motor mechanics in their college. So I wrote the curriculum, set all that up, and developed a 3-year kinesthetic and video way.
He's a man of many talents.
Assessing people to teach, assessing people on their mechanical expertise. I mean, the great thing about it was these lads I was working with, I mean, they could speak 7-8 languages. Their reading and writing of English age was probably about maybe 9 or 10. But I found a way of assessing their knowledge, really, and the idea was that to get them up to a European standard of diagnostic testing of repairing vehicles and stuff like that. And that was really, really rewarding, and it was probably one of the best jobs I've ever had, because I was around motorbikes and I was around cars and everything and vans, and I was teaching.
So you didn't take that job in a brothel then?
No. You never know. If I pop back, he might say that. He did offer me a lady for a week to teach him English. So
you'll have to read the book.
You'll have to read the book about that one.
So I know you said you're undecided, but how likely are we to see a part 2 or not?
Well, the feedback I've had so far is that people are interested in, like, as I've alluded to, it's like living in dictatorship, which I can say I've done. Which
you could probably have a part 2 and part 3, to be fair.
Well, maybe that's the idea. The part 2 would be about how I lived in a dictatorship, how I survived in one of the poorest places on earth, and thrived. And what I learned from it. I mean, like, really didn't finish school and all the rest, became a university lecturer and a college thingy, and if someone had said, could you do that, I'd be absolutely not. But it takes that travelling and all of that having a go and forgetting about risk, managing it and go, do you know what, I'll give it a go. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
So living in that, and maybe the third part could be the journey back, which took quite some time, and then the re-emergence into a first world setting of Europe, and what I took from all of the other stuff, and how I applied it to my daily life, personally, professionally, and stuff like that.
Yeah, because obviously what we were discussing earlier, I mean, you're not bothered about success as in loads of sales.
No.
This is for you, isn't it?
Yeah, this book was for the stuff in my head. I thought, I need to get this written down, and strangely enough, as I was writing it, it became, not only did I relive the moments, but it really made me process, actually, and reinforce what I learned.
Yeah.
And actually writing it made me very grateful and appreciative, and it made me bring it more into my daily life, just reinforced everything that I learned. So yeah, I'd recommend traveling.
Mantras that you still apply to this day, don't you?
Yeah, and in my own personal life, professional life, you know, I have my own private clients and everything else that I work through, personal development and CBT and stuff like that, and there's nothing that I haven't written about that I don't do daily. I'm not someone who, well, this book said to do that. No. If I've done it, I'll recommend it because I do it. I think it's being authentic.
Yeah.
And that means it ain't perfect. So if you want perfection, go somewhere else.
But no, this is what I was saying earlier. I mean, you're not a professional writer.
No.
But I can relate to that. I can identify with it, which is why I actually enjoyed reading the book. I'm not a big book reader, but I properly got into it. So
that's lovely
because
to hear.
I can relate, because I'm not really good, writer myself.
I think maybe in the future, maybe I'll go down the line of make an audio version, because I listen to audio books. I do about 3 a week.
That's what I do. I do a lot of that.
Right. So
I drive a lot for work. So
absolutely, and it's a medium I use. So it might be something, that the next piece of work could be turn it into an audio book.
Oh yeah, I think that's
I don't know how, but do you know what? I'll find out. Someone's done it before. I'll just work out how.
I would have appreciated that.
Okay. All right. I'll look into that.
So I've got a question from Paul Berryman. I've noticed Sean permanently carries cable ties stored around his forks. How did he get the idea for this? How many times have they been used in anger? And what jobs has he used them for? Okay, so initially I went to a talk by Lois Price, a female adventurer, very famous within a certain setting anyway, and she had cable ties on her front fork, and someone asked, why do you use them? She said, they're used for a multitude of things, putting on side panels, etc. Okay, so when I went, I done that, and I've used them for a lot of like securing panniers. When things have fallen off, or you've got 2 metal brackets and they really need to, that's all you've got, they work for that. On my gear change lever, that needed, it was all floppy, so I had to use cable ties just to make everything. Just to make it stiff again. Enough, Bruce. And using things like, I've seen people repair screens through them, fairings, and strangely enough, it's been people asking for them, go, oh, have you got a cable tie? And you go, yes, I have. So it's not only is it... I was going to say just whip it out, but
So not
going back to the
only
brothel
is
days then.
for you being able to use, but other people can use it as well. You'd be surprised the friends you can make with a cable tie.
Yeah. In fairness, I've actually kept cable ties on my bikes for many years. I don't know why I started doing it, but so I've always carried a little stash of them on my bike. I've only ever used them a couple of times, but so they do come in handy, don't they?
They do, certainly do.
So what are the 3 things you would leave home?
Not leave home without?
You would not leave home without.
Okay, so I knew this was coming, so I prepared something. Right. There's actually 4, And I'll do the fourth one last.
That's cheating, but we'll allow it.
Obviously, we've talked about this bad boy. Do not leave home without a cable tie.
Absolutely not.
What you can do with this cable tie is you can cable tie a split link to your handlebar. Okay? You might think, why would I do that? Well, I done that and I still lost it, but it's always handy to have a split link, spare one, taped to your handlebar. It might not be that you need it, but if you give it to someone else, I believe in karma, it might come back.
Yeah.
So cable ties, definitely.
Yeah.
The other thing, you will never go a day without using a half decent head torch. All right?
I wouldn't have thought about that, yeah. So,
right, this is going to be invaluable, especially if you're wild camping. You will use this every single day. My top tip would be get one that's USB powered.
Yeah.
I've had for years. It works brilliantly.
It looks well used.
Yeah, it's even got red lights on the back. I think it's a bicycle one. I've never seen them make ever again, but absolutely invaluable. You'd be so surprised when you want to go for a pee at night or whatever it is, or you want to try and fix your bike at night and you need to see what you're looking at. Perfect.
Yeah.
The other thing is, this is a mini toolkit, a Motion Pro trail tool. These things are golden. There is not pretty much, you can almost strip.
Yeah, I've been quite curious as to the best multi-tool trick for the bike. So that's quite interesting.
I had a typical tool roll with all of the bits in. This thing replaces so much.
Motion Pro
trail tool. They're not cheap, but I tell you what, you pay for what you get. And
I mean, it's obviously the tool bag that comes with a Triumph is pretty sparse.
Yeah.
So.
And the only other thing I would never leave home without is my Leatherman. Use this daily for everything. And I have to be honest, I'm not sponsored by Leatherman or nothing else, but my one of 10-12 years did break, and there's a lifetime guarantee.
There is, yeah.
And they just sent me a brand new one.
Yeah, I actually own one as well, yeah.
I would never leave home without
How do you manage when you're travelling, going through customs? Do you have to declare it because of the knife?
No. One of the things from my travelling is don't get too anxious and stop asking for bloody permission.
Yeah.
Okay, just do things and work out what happens.
And the clip, that's a Leatherman clip as well.
It came with it.
Oh, right, yeah.
Apparently they are a few quid, apparently, these things, but it was with it
I have one, but I use it for work. So, but I do consider keeping it with me, but what about the travelling, the legality of things?
And I suppose
it's a tool, isn't it?
As a Billy bonus, one of the things I'd recommend is obviously
he's stripping off now.
A mugger's wallet to have only your money that you're going to use in the day with expired credit cards. But another one would be one of these belts that you can stash. We used to put about equivalent of.
Don't the bandits wise up to that though?
No, because they're not. They haven't got attention to detail. You can put about €800 in there, or
it looks like you can fit quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, you can. You roll it up small, and the other one I've got is plastic, so I use it for airports as well, and never gets picked up. And so when they do go through your wallet,
that's quite an interesting tip actually. Yeah.
When they do go through your wallet, they only see you've got 20 quid for the day.
Yeah.
And they're going to leave you alone. You know yourself, you got all your rest of your money safely hidden away.
Yeah.
So that would be another kind of Billy bonus top tip. Get a good money belt.
I've seen them before, but I can see now. Actually, I'll show it up to the camera. So that's going to be quite. When you're travelling through these countries, that is going to be invaluable, isn't it?
Yeah, the Safe Pack one goes all the way around. That's like another one I bought since. That is kind of everyday use.
Yeah.
But the safe pack one you can get from Amazon is plastic, so it'll go through any airport, and you'll be fine with that. It goes all the way there. You get about £1,000 in there, and it's nice to know that whatever happens, you can get out of trouble.
Just hope no bandits are watching this now. Next time he goes to Africa.
Yeah, exactly.
Where's your belt?
Where's your belt? Where's your belt? Because a lot of people I've seen people kind of stuff the money in like tubes in their bikes and everything else. You always need to keep it on you, and you're always going to wear a belt, so it makes complete sense, you know. And it doesn't hurt looking like a tramp.
I've heard of the old sticking it in an orifice.
No, I wouldn't say I've done that, but I've done something kind of similar. I managed to smuggle some money through once in my mouth by chewing gum and wrapping it in cellophane. That's a whole different story. But
that's one for another video.
Maybe another one. Who knows?
Hey, top tip.
So yeah, those things are my go-to. Do not leave home without.
Yeah.
And of course your bike.
That's pretty much fundamental, really, isn't it? Got one final question for you then. So, where would you like to travel? What country is on your bucket list that you would like to visit on a bike, obviously? Out of anywhere in the world.
I think South America.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just got everything again. You just don't know what. Yeah. I think there's a weird attraction of lawlessness. I don't know where that comes from, but I like countries that are in a state of flux.
Yeah.
I don't want predictability, which is typically Western countries, let's say.
Yeah.
So I like to go to places that it takes a bit of character, it takes a bit of conversation to get what you need, and you meet the best people. The most interesting characters when you're in a place that requires just more than a bit of cash.
Yeah.
Requires more character. And I think, strangely enough, when the economy isn't great or challenged, then you get a better adventure as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know Switzerland's wonderful. I've been there. The roads are great and everything else.
But don't speed.
Yeah, it's all super regulated, as is most European countries. So where's the fun in that? I want to go somewhere where the rules are a kind of a suggestion.
Yeah, I know. It is something I do aspire to. I will get there eventually. It's just, as usual with me, it's just work getting in the way.
Absolutely, I think the thing is put the date on it.
Yeah.
And then it'll all happen towards it.
Yeah.
And there's never the right time. It won't be right when.
Yeah.
Just put the date, put the month, put the year, and just go. It'll be the best thing you've ever done. I mean, it's the best education I've ever had, both personally and professionally. I do things now I never would have imagined.
What other countries have you travelled in on a bike?
I've done all of Europe a few times. I went to the States on a road trip, just a random road trip. That was really interesting. But I really want to do South America, places like that. Out of the way. I'd love to do Russia as well.
Do you know what? I was going to say that as well. I want to go to Russia as well. Obviously, it's not going to happen now. Not for the moment, but...
and there's a thing, I
don't know why, but I've always wanted to visit St. Petersburg.
Yeah.
It just looks beautiful.
Yeah.
And,
absolutely. Go to places that, are what may be considered out of bounds. Those are the best places.
Yeah. I watch a lot. Have you seen Bold and Bankrupt videos on YouTube?
No.
It's quite a famous YouTuber. Yeah, and he does a lot in he's done a lot of Russian videos.
Right.
And
yeah, I'd love to go
he
to Russia
goes out
and
in
go
the sticks.
across
Yeah, so,
and see the people, you know, experience
See it for yourself. Yeah.
see it for myself rather than a filtered
I know,
media
yeah.
channel. You
Because,
know?
yeah, that's the thing. We just what we get is filtered, and what they get is filtered, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the way of the world, isn't it?
And there's the thing, when you're actually on the ground meeting people.
Meeting people, yeah, that's when you
That's
when you get a
real
sense
story.
of what they're really like. Yeah.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that. And on my travels, like people often ask, "Oh, did you ever feel threatened or whatever?" Not really. No. I found most people are great,
Yeah.
and they just want to get along.
So I think that pretty much brings us to the end. So, any final thoughts, Sean?
I would say just go
book
do
all
that
the time.
thing you always wanted to do. There's never the right time. You've never got enough money, and just do it. It'll be the best thing you'll ever do in your life. It's a bit, you know, you'll never regret it. Just go do it.
Wise words indeed. Thank you very much. Cheers, Sean.
Thank you.